Hi, this is Jay Aaseng from Twin Peaks The Return. You're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
Well, it's 1:12 a.m. Today is Saturday the 13th. However, I received on the 12th. My buddy Jack Bristow, my cough maniac friend, has been seeing me writing about Mad Magazine and Mort Drucker and all these people. And about a week ago, he's like, "Hey, I'm getting you something on eBay." I said, "Wow, awesome." I said, "Thank you." And so he goes, "Hey, did you get something in the mail today?" I went down, I opened up the mailbox, I come inside, open up this, dude, there's a package in there, open it up, and there are five Mad magazines. This one is called A Collection of Mad Follies, also blunders, bombs, and other acts of idiocy from past issues. Plus a special full-color, fold-out, paste-on bonus Mad paperback book covers. Hide that trash you're reading with dull intellectual titles. Hide that dull intellectual stuff you're reading with trashy titles. Oh my God. This other one is Mad number 98, October 65. 30 cents, cheap. Just imagine that, 30 cents. To be able to buy this for 30 cents? Wow. God, that would have been great to work with those guys back then. 30 cents, cheap. September 1967, number 113. The 9th annual edition of More Trash from Mad, a collection of humor, satire, and garbage from past issues. 50 cents, cheap. What year is that? There's a picture of Alfred E. Newman's face. He's got a little mustache on his face. It shows like these different stickers on his face. Support mental illness. Join the Ku Klux Klan. Join the war on poverty. Increase my allowance. Eck. Dry paint. Everything is cheaper across the street. In case of atomic attack, the federal ruling against praying in this school will be temporarily suspended. Studying causes cancer. Send a girl to Boys Town. Help, I'm a prisoner in a summer camp. Featuring a special full-color, fold-out bonus, more Mad Mischief stickers. And then it's here, a special June Groom issue, July 1966, number 107. Mad, 30 cents cheap. So I've got all these Mads. I'm going to read through them. Let's go for this one. It's so interesting. I don't know if I was telling you, So I was reading the newest Mad, and it's all about Al Jaffe. Al Jaffe is finally retiring after he's 99 years old, and he's the oldest living cartoonist. 56 years he was a cartoonist for Mad, mostly, and just great at writing everything. So the whole issue is dedicated to him. So you see all these little bits and pieces from all these different magazines throughout the world. And as I was reading these, I started thinking to myself, whoa, this looks familiar. I feel like I've read this before. I felt such a familiarity with it. So many pieces of these. These were 1967. Some of them were in 1980s, which I did read Mad way back then. Took a brief hiatus. Uh, gosh, it's amazing. It's amazing. So I looked at those and I thought, I feel like I've seen these before. And wouldn't that be great if you could push a little button in there, like your brain takes you back through that database of the times, like where you could actually match it up and go, oh, wow, ooh, interesting. And then it could service you in so many ways, so many ways of potentials, synchronicity-wise and all kinds of cool stuff. You come across your own, oh, okay, well, this synchronicity happened because this time. Well, and then you're able to whittle it down and figure out what are the elements of that equation that caused that particular thing to happen. So it felt interesting because as I was looking through this Mad magazine and I'm feeling familiarity with this, I was thinking about old issues. Well, then all of a sudden, Jack Bristow tells me he orders me something, and bam, today I end up getting these old magazines. God, this is crazy. I feel like I already talked about this, didn't I? Did I already talk about this? God, this is nuts. This is nuts, man. Look at this. Look at this. Yes. Wow. The paper. I like this old paper. How many pages there used to be in there? Oh my God, this is crazy. Just look through these old pages. Something, my dad told me that he had Mad magazines, and I can't, and maybe I read his magazines up at Grandma and Grandpa's house. Did I do I remember actually doing that? Look at this. For a new sound, listen to Alfred E. Newman vocalize It's a Gas on this real 33 and a third RPM record. So the 9th annual edition of The Worst. See, they would do this sometimes in Mad, where they would put these like interesting little things, or you could order these offers. There's an offer I saw where you could order a straitjacket from Mad Magazine, and they'd send you a straitjacket. I remember when Cracked did that. I remember because I loved Mad and Cracked, and I was reading Cracked, and they said, because their mascot is Sylvester P. Smith. Mad is Alfred E. Newman. So Sylvester P. Smith, he was like a painter. And you could actually order a painting cap that was just like his, a white one. And I ordered one. I remember I had one. So Mad did this. So I'm looking at this right now from the number 66. No, July 1966, number 104. That's what it was. Remember, once they moved out here to Burbank, they started brand new with number 1 of Mad. Brand new. And so strange, right? So strange. It makes you wonder, So anyway, this Alfred E. Newman vocalizes. Like, get it? You get it as a free bonus in this latest Mad Annual. And the Mad Annual is the 9th annual edition of The Worst from Mad. Wow. A collection of humor, satire, and garbage from past issues. God, that's so cool. You get it as a free bonus in this latest Mad Annual, which also contains articles, satires, and other garbage, the best from the past issues on sale now. Rush out and buy a copy. It's a sound investment. I loves it. God, these guys are great. It says here, Mad at the top, right here in the in the table of contents. There's one thing we know for sure about the speed of light. It gets here too early in the morning. Alfred E. Newman. Oh my God. God, that would be great if they did little Alfred E. Newman quotes like they used to. So it's so incredible, man, when you look back through these old issues and you just see just the care and the fun that these guys had in putting these things together. I love the feel of these pages. It's like newsprint. It's kind of like newsprint. It's got like this, God, there's a wonderful just, oh, man. I love this. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Brilliant, these guys. Dave Berg. Or Trucker. Or Don Martin, rather. Yeah, they would play with wording. Dave Berg, I remember that. Gosh. Wow, man. How fun. Oh, this has that old paper. Musty paper smell. Oh my God. Oh wow. This reminds me of my grandma and grandpa's basement. Oh my God. Whoa, man. Oh my God. Whoa. Okay. I better put this issue. Okay. I'm going to open these up. I'm going to save these for Jenny because just so she can, she's got to smell these things. Oh my God. These are nuts, man. How cool is that? You know, the fact that we... Oh, this was the other interesting thing that showed up with these Mad magazines. Did I talk about this? I feel like I started to talk about it, then I cut myself off. Anyway, that's all I'll say about the Mad magazines. Thanks for listening. Oh, there's more coming up. Ooh, so imagine... in the future, so everything will be based on waves and vibrations. People will start tuning into more of that. More people have rifle machines. They'll understand their relationship to frequencies, vibrations, all that jazz. And they just decide, okay, I'm shutting off the news. I'm just being as highly charged as as much as I can. Then we'll start hearing people talk about, I was surgically amplified. Oh, you were surgically amplified. So let's say a woman wants get breast implants. Oh, I was surgically amplified. So it's just like they pump a certain sound and there goes, and it activates those hormones or whatnot, and it grows it. Oh, wow, you have such large ears. Yes, I was surgically amplified. Oh, what big eyeballs you have. Oh, yes, why, thank you. I was surgically amplified. All right, this is so crazy. So it's the 16th of June. Day after I had to put Gonzo to sleep. Oh, it's crazy, man, when you think about it. You gotta just, everywhere you look, you see your little buddy. Everywhere you look. You could end up looking at... all these. I just saw a sign on the ground that said "fuck Garcetti." It's just crazy when a loved one goes, they pass, they transition into the next incarnation. So, I gotta say, concerning the Mad magazine, as some of you know who've been listening. This whole thing is this podcast is sometimes linear and most times not linear. Is in most cases all over the place. So, for instance, the next episode that comes out was actually recorded before I put Gonzo to sleep. it all comes out in the wash. You know, I try to say the date, the time. I try to get those timestamps on there, but I'm not a stickler for it, as one might say. There's a dance troupe out there waiting for their coffee in front of this place. It's funny, man. People are not required to wear masks anymore. The virus is still out there. It's very strange. It's very strange. What's going on with this? Are people, you know, are they still getting it like we see on the news? So, yeah, those Mad magazines. What's interesting is, in the latest edition of Mad Magazine, and they've been doing this a lot lately, is showing old material. Showing material from long ago, back in the 60s. And so, so it's funny because I had a theory. I thought, I wonder if some of the pages that they're putting in to the new issue, you know, that were taken from the other magazines, I thought to myself, I wonder if some of those magazines I now own that were sent to me by Jack Bristow. Sure enough, it was interesting. Today I came across this. Because any of you who like Mad Magazine, they usually put in the notes to the editor, letters to the editor. And when they do that, a lot of times they'll be referencing other magazines. So what's so interesting is they end up referencing something called, it was a parody of the National Enquirer. I think they called it the National Perspirer or something, or National Inquisitor. I forgot what they called it. The World Inquisitor? I forgot what they called it, but they did a parody of it. And these people so God, how do I explain it? So reprinted in the new version was this National Inquisitor. What's funny is, as I was reading through the old Mad magazines, there was a letter to the editor saying, you know, and they were complaining about a piece that they put in a magazine about the National Inquisitor. And so it's funny because then I looked back through and I realized that the old 1966 episode, the issue I had, was a month before that letter in the letters column actually showed up. Oh God, how do I explain? It's a crazy thing to try to explain. It's a crazy thing. Oh my God. The people who were commenting in the old issue were commenting about the issue that contained the National Inquisitor, which was a piece, you know, then utilized, repurposed, reshared, republished, reprinted in the latest edition of Mad. I hope that explains it, because it blew my mind as I continue to open it up, as I continue to unravel the mystery. It's just a doozy. So I'm going to, as I seem to often be, on my way to the post office, send off these Father's Day cards. We got a stamp on each one, but you never quite know if you happen to have the proper amount of stamps or not, unless you let's say, sheesh, man, you just never know. You never know. The whole thing's a hologram, everybody. The whole thing's a hologram. You don't know how things are going to come back up, how they're going to reemerge, how they're going to... It's so funny, I'm walking around through the sidewalks now. I'm seeing more people out. I'm seeing more activities happening. I'm seeing more people just, like, listen, there's a conversation happening. They're not wearing masks. There's a skater. He's not wearing a mask. Like, isn't this suspicious to the rest of you guys? It's got to be. It's got to be suspicious to you, right? Is this suspicious to you, yes or no? Because if they suddenly start opening everything, aren't you going to be suspicious on why they made us wear these masks in the first place? It then makes me wonder, well, what was the motivation in making us wear the masks then? You know, ultimately, if there, God, then today I saw a video from a nurse who actually works as a nurse at Elmhurst. I think it's called Elmhurst Hospital. That's like they keep saying the epicenter. For some reason, all these people keep going in there and they're all sick and all these dead people are coming out of there. And they're wondering why. Well, this nurse said that they were putting COVID patients on floors with non-COVID patients. And they were just confusing the nurses. And, these nurses take a code. They take it. There's an oath that they take. And, to follow the family wishes, basically. And these doctors were saying, you know what we order you to do supersedes whatever the family wanted and or whatever even the patient wanted. Some guy went in there, he was filled with anxiety, except he kept hearing about COVID, freaking him out. Anybody with anxiety, of course. Oh my gosh, anyone who's a hypochondriac, what is that? Somebody thinks they're sick all the time. One of those folks. That's going to set them crazy, right? And they start thinking about it. Oh my gosh, I have so much anxiety. They're breathing heavy. They're going in there, having an anxiety attack. And these people are putting them on ventilators right away. And we keep hearing how these ventilators are actually killing people. And she's talking about how the people who are, like, cleaning the floors, they're not even, like, mopping up anything. They're not even mopping up the floors. The nurses are required to wear, like, this minimal, not any normal stuff that they would normally wear that would actually help keep them from catching it. So there's just a lot of strange stuff. And how they were required to say that this patient had COVID, that patient had COVID. I think she had Google glasses because she was videotaping the conversations she was having, what was going on. It's interesting. What's the end game? What's the master plan, Now, from a universal perspective, the higher mind, we could easily look at this hologram. We could easily look at this crazy illusion. We could easily look at all this stuff that these limited-minded humans are trying to do to affect the populace and keep them on their toes, keep them worried. I thought it was really interesting how what was it? Oh, yes, yeah. Basically, how so we had the quarantine. And everybody's inside, and all they have, basically, is they have their TV, yes. Then also, those who don't want to watch TV or are sick of watching all the news, they start tuning into the internet, and they start doing their research. So you got all these detectives out there. You got all these people out there. Imagine a bunch of Sherlock Holmeses putting the pieces together. All these people finding, the Venn diagrams of these of these things and going, yep, I found this, I found that, I found this. Now, if I was a government that really wanted to make sure, we talk about this often on the podcast, if I was a government that didn't want people looking into what I was doing or what I was up to, I would then create something out there that would get them riled up and stop looking at what I'm doing and get them fighting against each other again. Because then you get them busy yelling at each other. Now they're not working together to try to find a solution. They're fighting against each other because one figures they have a better solution than the other. So it's interesting because along came a bunch of riots and then protests and all that razzmatazz you know about in the news. There are plenty of other sources to go to for that. There's lots of news information you can tune into. It's really interesting when we take our lens and we start matching that stuff up. We start, matching up the ideas that we know Edward Bernays used with cigarette companies and the war efforts and all the propaganda. I'm reading that book slowly as a PDF online. I found it. Edward Bernays. He invented the word public relations. Public relations. Because apparently the word propaganda was getting bad press. He didn't like it. So, so imagine that. We got the Edward Bernays mindsets out there, moving things along, grooving things along. And when we look at this stuff from the highest mind perspective, we're all players on a big stage. And if we keep putting ourselves into the mindset of the infinite, all that is, we have access to all that stuff. If we are to play with the idea that this is all quantum world and we're blipping and bleeping between parallel universes, who's to say we couldn't just easily invite in the parallel universe that most highly vibrates with the best version of ourselves? And with that, I'm going to let you go. I'm about to enter the post office. All right, I went to the post office. Now I'm going to the store. I just walked past a family that was getting out. They were all wearing their face masks and walking towards like Yogurt Land or something, or Subway, or I don't know what. But the girl was wearing like a blue graduate gown. She was wearing it. She went back to her car to drop it off, and I'm like, "Congratulations." She's like, "Oh yeah, thank you." And I thought, that's so funny. Here's a guy looking like Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat, wishing you had, congratulations in the midst of, everything we're going through. It was quite comical. Okay, so through reading this magazine, the very same magazine that I was telling you about that I was just baffled by, the old one, there's an ad in there about, I guess in 1966, there was an off-Broadway show called the Mad Show, and they had like 800 performances, and they included little bits of inside jokes and stuff that were applied to Mad. However, I need to do further research. It doesn't look like that any of the writers or anyone that worked for the magazine actually had anything to do with the Broadway show, which then reminds me of how they made that movie Up Your Academy, I think. That was in my podcast interview with Alan Bernstein, I believe it is. His name escapes me right now. We've got 3 cars simultaneously pulling out at once. I think his name's Alan Bernstein. You can check out my podcast. He's the one who's doing the documentary called When We Were Mad, I think. I think that's the name of it. And it's all about his documentary about Mad Magazine. He was telling me that, some people they saw, which one was it? Oh, Animal House, and they wanted to make an Animal House type movie. So then they did Up Your Academy, which is interesting because Animal House was created by National Lampoon. And National Lampoon, I did a search just to see if there was ever any crossover with National Lampoon and Mad Magazine. And what's so interesting is National Lampoon actually did a parody of Mad Magazine, and it's so crazy because it looks just like the front cover of a Mad Magazine. You can look it up. Look up Mad Magazine National Lampoon parody. And what's so crazy is it's Alfred E. Newman. It looks just like Alfred E. Newman painted how he normally would be, but he's got a sort of a frown on his face. You don't really see you don't see the tooth. And at the top, Mad, it's written just like it would be on Mad, but at the top of it, it says a National Lampoon parody of, in little letters. And so, man, it's just so neat when you see the crossovers of these guys. So Up Your Academy, that was a movie that was written, and I don't think it included anyone from Mad Magazine. Anyone. So that's quite an interesting thing. So apparently that and that Broadway show, the Mad Show, didn't have much to do with the actual Mad Magazine people. I need to look deeper. Maybe there is, but one of the things I'd like to do that popped into my brain is that I would like to actually interview those actors that were in there. And what has happened, what the cool thing is that they released it, the Mad Show. They actually have it. I was listening to it on iTunes, but I think it's also on Spotify. So the cool thing is, you can listen to it. They got the original recording. Now, I don't know if I don't know if it was recorded while it was live, while it was at a in a studio. I don't know if it was while it was performed live. You don't really hear a crowd, but it sounds like there's space in the room. It has that sound, like there's just like sort of a reverb, and it's really interesting. It's cool. It's really interesting. They have a whole song called Ech. ECCH is a term that Mad Magazine used a lot when they were dealing with things that were nasty or yucky. If there was, if they showed a picture of dog poop or something, they'd be like, Ech. If there was like someone barfing, it would say, Yech. So they use that word a lot. And so for the Mad Show, the musical, they call it the Mad Show Ensemble. Look for that on iTunes. The Mad Show Ensemble. Apparently this old recording was released it was recorded long ago, but then released in 2005. I don't know if that was the first time or if they were actually able to put it onto an album. I think they put it on an album. So that Mad Magazine issue that I was looking at actually has like an ad on the back. Has an ad on the back, and that ad on the back shows apparently one of the actors who is in the Mad Show Ensemble. Now, this is the next thing I got to research, is how close. I need to look up to see Henry Beard, I think that was his name. The guy who started National Lampoon. I want to know how directly influenced those guys were by Mad Magazine. I want to see when. No, well, okay, if that was happening, if they recorded that and that happened like way back in the 60s, then National Lampoon started National Lampoon Radio Hour. Was that in the 70s? Huh. Interesting. So interesting. Wow. It's funny when I think about the year 2000 and the fact that it was 20 years ago. What a weird idea. That's 20 years ago. So, anyway, I'm just happy that I keep coming across more and more of this information about other projects that Mad Magazine, that these guys did. They did a song. Oh my God, I gotta find it. They did a song that Alfred E. Newman, well, they say he sings in, but I think they hear him sneeze or cough or something. They put out a record. I think it was one of those things where it was like a little acetate, one of those really thin records that goes into the magazine. They did that with McDonald's years ago, where I guess there was a specific theme song that was going on about the Big Mac, all the ingredients, and then they sent out the song in those little acetate records within the newspaper. So then you'd get it, and the whole idea was it was a bunch of people trying to remember all the ingredients. So if they got to the end, on the record that you're listening to, if they got to the end, you won. That was the thing. If it didn't get to the end, you didn't win. But I don't know what you're supposed to win. So I think that's what was going on with the Mad Magazine record. I'm thinking of wallet because I got this wallet in my pocket, and it's just huge. It's like I got one big butt cheek, but then I switch it to the other side. I got one of those wallets. It's kind of like a policeman's wallet. It looks like just chock full of information. Chock full of information. We are back. I've still been wearing my Yachtly Crew face mask out there by Kathleen Kincaid. I've been wearing it. Anytime I'm out and I'm talking to you guys, I'm wearing it. Here we go. I just took it off now. You can really smell what's really going on in the air. Take off your mask, you know that? Someone smell like steak, someone's cooking, laundry, someone's doing laundry. Hello. It's so interesting. I'm coming to the realization more and more that there have been through the years, just as I about a week ago found out about the Mad Show. There have been these things out there in the world that have sort of dipped their toe into Mad Magazine and tried to include it in various multimedia situations, whether it's the Mad Show off Broadway, Up Yours, which is that movie that they made, and it was slightly involved in Mad, but I don't think it had any of the writers. I don't think it really had. I think William Gaines, the publisher, just kind of said, "Yeah, okay, go ahead." Then they had Mad TV. I'm curious how that worked out. if any of the writers were a part of that. What the heck else was there? There was apparently a song. I don't know if it's an entire record or just a song, but it features Alfred E. Newman. I think the sound of him barfing or sneezing or something. But it's interesting how with National Lampoon, it started as the magazine, then they did National Lampoon Radio Hour, and then they got into movies. So it'd be interesting to know when, I need to do this research, but it'd be interesting to know when National Lampoon, the magazine, actually stopped. It's interesting, if you go to the website, they don't even mention that National Lampoon was a magazine long ago. They don't mention anything about the fact that that actually existed, and it's all thanks to those guys at the Harvard Lampoon who then made National Lampoon. It's all thanks to those guys that the name even exists, that they're even around. And even on Twitter, I said, you guys really ought to consider talking about these guys. The originators. Hi, Marky. Hi, little Marky. You are so cute. It'd be interesting to know. There are two guys that I immediately know that I could talk to about this. The guy, Alan Bernstein, who I interviewed, who's putting together the documentary. I think it's called When We Were Mad, or When We Went Mad, When We Were Mad. And that's the documentary about Mad Magazine. And then there's a collector, Mad Magazine collector, that I found online. I emailed him because I wanted to have a podcast with him. He didn't get back to me. I thought it'd be cool to, it'd be cool to have like a conference call with the three of us, just geeking out on Mad, just geeking out. Chris Maddox, the lead singer of Grace Band, he does Elvis. He said he bought his son a subscription to Mad Magazine, so that'll be awesome. It's crazy. I talked to my dad on the phone, and we'd go to my grandma and grandpa's house, and he had Mad magazines upstairs. In fact, that's probably what inspired me to start reading them. Wow. It's crazy because I said, Dad, I think it's because of Mad Magazine and you and Uncle Arnie. I think that's, you guys definitely taught me to appreciate play on words, puns, just playing with the language. And my dad said that he felt that Mad Magazine did the same thing for him. It helped shape his sensibilities for humor. It's just incredible how much that magazine has inspired folks. And I remember the board game. The board game was great. You had to go around the board counterclockwise. I think you had to roll with your left hand. Oh, that was great. They ought to reissue that. Yeah, that was a great board game. There's so many directions, so many things they could have done, these guys. So many things. And I'm so surprised that, some of these original writers are still around. Dick DeBartolo, he's still around. I think Frank Jacobs is. He put out the book about William Gaines. I don't know how long ago that was, but I'm starting to find a lot more Frank Jacobs, his writing in this stuff. And just these artists that, like, Woodbridge, George Woodbridge, is that what his name was? I forgot. Woodbridge. Whoa, I think that's the same artist that used to do the art for Choose Your Own Adventure books. Huh. Wow. So intriguing when you really get into it. You really find out the very...
Hey, what's up? It's Man. I'm also creating a new game, so maybe I'll have to do an exclusive for you on your show and talk to you about a new strategy game that I'm developing. Much love, guy. Me love me some Inspirado Projecto. So, Man Behind the Machine. See that Phil Collins sound? Amazing.
I got cut off by a phone call there. Concerning seeing, like I brought up George Woodbridge, and I still got to do my research. Terrible of me. Right now, today's the 24th of June. June 24th. So, like Mort Drucker, you've seen his art out there in all these various arenas and all these different areas. It's interesting when you see artists that you thought were particular to your domain, your sort of secret appreciations. It was crazy when I first started seeing Mort Drucker art out there in the world on album covers and all this kinds of stuff, and I'm going, holy cow, that's the Mad Magazine artist. Man Behind the Machine, I would love to get you on here. God, you know what? Yeah. We got to do it. We got to use the Anchor. Because it's interesting, because my promo for this podcast talks about just all the great ways in which you can utilize the app and why it's important to have. And that's one of the features. And I just don't think I utilize that enough when I know for sure I could. I just don't use that enough. So I would love to hear about the video game you're creating. You know what's so interesting? I just came across Uillillia. Uillillia, is that his name? Who created this game called Platform Masters. He's been working on it for like decades. People have been following the progress of this thing. And the guy is so much of a perfectionist that he keeps revising, just all this stuff. He's a one-man team. This guy created this whole, it's got like hundreds of levels, this thing called Platform Masters. This guy, once you read about Uillillia, it's got two, Uillillia. I think that's how you spell it. Uillillia. And it's interesting because you talk about how he's got bullies at school. He's got like 60 bullies. And he talks about how he treats his life. He was able to quantify his life in such a way where he assigned certain experience points to certain activities and certain things in his life, and made like basically everything mathematically. He turned his life into sort of a role-playing game. He became an avatar. It's interesting. He's the kind of guy we could all learn from, because if this is all a big simulation, and we're all just avatars in this big video game, well, wouldn't we want to learn from the guy who's able to crack the code? I would. I mean, even just for kicks, just to talk to him. Go, okay, well, tell me your ideas, tell me your philosophies. It'd be no more outlandish than any ideas or philosophies that we've read in science fiction novels or that we see in the news or anywhere else for that matter. I mean, the Pentagon finally, they did finally fess up to that UFO footage. So it's like, you never know what's going to happen. The Cubs win the World Series. You never know. You just never know. I saw a video about AI and these robots. Like, they were showing these micro expressions on these robots. The one robot face, it looked like Elon Musk. It was crazy, man. These micro eye movements. And tiny little expressions it could make in its face. It was astounding. It was astounding. I mean, it was like Westworld type of technology here. It was just nuts. So yeah, Uillillia. But I would love to hear about your video game. I've got an idea for a video game, and I've been wanting to collaborate with someone on it. I talked to one guy before who said that he would work on a video game. All I had to do was get it, because he was very well versed with Unity, the program Unity, and he's like, yeah, if you can get me Unity, I can make it within that. And I just didn't do the research in that thing. But it's an idea that it's crazy. I go back and forth about sharing ideas publicly with certain things. It's so crazy. I struggle with that because I like to think of this, as you well know, as my journal, my diary, the thing that I'm putting into for my future self to listen to at a later date. Possibly, who knows who will come across this information. Perhaps my niece, Ella, maybe a little Josh. Maybe at some point in their lives they'll be listening to this. And hearing what their Uncle Kurt was up to, what his mindset was like during this time, this ripe old age of 46. Yeah, I'd love to interview you for sure. I'd love to find out how long it's taken you to make your video game. Like from concept to, or maybe you're still working on it. Because as you're going along, there are constantly things that you just kind of want. You're like, oh, okay. The thing that you had, like if it's like rock climbing, okay, so we shoot our grappling hook up there, like Batman style. We climb. Well, we're gonna reach that point, but then we're gonna go on to the next point. And so by the time we reach that point, we might have altered our ideas. It's almost like that was just an example, a sliver, the bait on the hook that brought you into that direction to get that other exciting thing. But we don't know what's there. We don't know what's behind the door until we open the door, or until we even go in the direction of where the door is at. Man, this quarantine has been so good for me. It's been so good for me. And I'm sad to see it go. However, it really started some great momentum moving. Really great momentum moving. Really great momentum grooving. I've got my Wise Finger Lab shoes on their way. I cannot wait to do my unboxing. That's going to be great. My buddy Jack Bristow, he just got a coffee mug. He got the Bills coffee mug in the mail. He did an unboxing video. My dad, he's going to be receiving something. My brother is going to be receiving something. My friend Noel ordered something. That's showing up. So it'll be interesting to see how it all evolves. I love seeing the participation. I love seeing the participation from people. God, that audience participation, I thrive on it. I crave it. I thrive on it. VE. What's the VE aspect? Carve, crave, starve, live, live, love, above. What is that? What is that? Is that a suffix? The VE. So, man behind the machine, it does not surprise me that you have a video game. It does not surprise me that you probably have a bunch of video games. I remember, I think it was one of the first times meeting you in person. Jason Carr had invited me. Who else was I there with? Who was I there with? Huh. Who was I there with? Chuck Plath, maybe? It was this place in Wheaton. I know what it was. Yeah, I show up. It was this apartment in Wheaton. And Jason Carr comes up to me wearing a poncho. Like the man with no name kind of poncho. And like looking like Timothy Leary. And he's got this big old jug. Alexa was there. Oh. Did you hear that? I said Alexa. That's funny. And there was a roof there. Jason Carr had a jug of, like when you get like distilled water in jugs, or I guess any kind of water. It was filled with it had vodka in it and a bunch of grapes. I think they filled it with grapes first, and then they dumped the vodka in. The idea was to make those grapes kind of like the tequila worm, where it would just soak it up. So when you ate these little grapes, you're like, wow, you get a blast, you get a mind blast of 80 proof. 80 proof, baby. And that one grape, more of a drunk than one could receive in an entire 12-pack of White Claw, I'm sure. And I remember walking in there, man behind the machine. I remember seeing a TV up in the corner of this room, and on it were these very interesting imageries. Just pixels and different colors and pixels, and like it sounded like 8-bit sounds coming out of it. Like it was just like bleeps and bloops and bits and bytes. And it was extraordinary. And Jason Carr said that you had created that. And I remember another time you telling me about an invention that you created. It was for DJing. It was for live DJing. I remember seeing the video that you did. And it intrinsically connected the music with the video. So when you were playing the music, you go, so it's playing the video up on the screen, and then the video itself would move. And this is before I think internet and all this digital stuff kicked into place. And you foresaw it. And what do people do now? They go see DJs in concerts, and they've got all kinds of imagery projected up on a screen. And then, I love this story. You came out. I was living with Jason Carr at the time, painting like a maniac, and you came out. And I don't know if we told you, you had all your records and everything. And Jason Carr and I had bought 200 paintings, and we painted those. And our goal was to paint. No, it was 100. It was 100. We got them from Michael's. It was great. Oh my God. They were 9x16 canvases. I think you could get like 3 canvases for $5. Oh my God. And he happened to have one of the rare times he had a job or any kind of money. He bought all those canvases, $100 worth of all, or no, what? No, it was more than that. Yeah, because it was 100 canvases. So it wasn't $1 per, yeah, I don't know. Whatever it comes out to be. 100 of them. I still remember the cart. I had this big old stack. It was like Leaning Tower of Pisa mixed with a pyramid. Just this. A rectangle mid. It was a rectangle mid. Stacked up. And our mission was to paint it all in 1 month. And it was great, man. We had different color lights in the house in different areas. So above the dining room table, it might be yellow. Over here by the door, it might be red. A light bulb over there by the couch would be blue. So it was always different. So at night, we'd be painting. And then I'd get bored, and then I'd switch canvases, and he'd paint on the other canvas, and I'd paint on the other canvas. And so it was great because when the daylight came the next day, we would paint all throughout the night. And we would and if I got tired with my painting, I'd pass it over to him, and he'd get tired with his. He'd pass it over to me, and we'd switch, and I'd add stuff to his, he'd add stuff to mine. It was perfect. Listening to good music, oh man, it's just great. I think we might have even been getting drunk on boxed wine back then. And it was just, man, it was so much fun. We produced so much, but it took us more than a month. We basically within 3 months we made 60 paintings. And those are hung all over the walls. It was like information overload for anyone who came over. It was just paintings all over. And then we had that art show, which you came in for, and you were DJing. We didn't, it was so funny. Up until the day that you came in, I was just telling this story the other day on Anchor, where you came to town. We didn't have any equipment for you, and I had to borrow equipment from my buddy Lawrence, who ended up emceeing the party upstairs at that place, Coconut. I want to call it Coconut Cabana or something. It was on Melrose. Our friend Jen McMahon worked there, and they had that room upstairs that never was really barely, just never used. Had no air conditioning. We had those big fans up there. It was really hot. And dude, it was awesome. There was your awesome music playing, and then he and I live painted while people walked around, talked to each other, hung out. Then Lawrence danced around, emceed it. Oh my God, that was great. How was? I mean, there had to have been cell phones back then. There had to have been video back then on those cell phones. It was like 2001 or something, 2002 maybe. Seems like it was like around that time. God, isn't that weird? You can go back and say 2000 was 20 years ago. Isn't that weird? Isn't that crazy, dude? 2020, wasn't there a... What was it? Odyssey, 2001 Space Odyssey, and then didn't they do 2010? Whoever they are. Anyway, thanks for... Yeah, we'll definitely do a podcast, Man Behind the Machine. Anybody who wants to contribute, email me, inspiradoprojecto@gmail.com, or you can call me. I'll leave your message in here. 561-203-9179. Take care, everyone.
This is Richard Wilson of Mad Shelley Films, and you're listening to Inspirado Projecto Radio.